When a human soul is always available, it is never truly present. The one who answers every call, who rushes to every cry, imagines himself virtuous, loving, generous. In truth, he is merely afraid of being forgotten. The slavery is subtle. He calls it kindness, but it is terror of silence, terror of himself. The occult teaching begins where ordinary morality ends. The world praises the one who is always reachable, always open, always there for everyone. Yet in the astral light, such a soul appears as a house with all doors broken, windows shattered, strangers walking in and out at any hour. He calls it openness. The law of his being calls it invasion. There are two selves in man. One is the noisy self, built of habits, impressions, and the desperate need to be needed. The other is the silent witness, the true spiritual center, which speaks only in stillness. As long as you are constantly available to the demands of others, you remain unavailable to the voice of your own soul. This is why many lives feel hollow, even when surrounded by people. The seeker answers every message, attends every conflict, offers advice to every wandering ego. Yet, in the secret chamber of the heart, he lives as a stranger. The soul watches, patient but unsummoned, as the personality dances for coins of approval. In the invisible worlds, every attachment has a form. Your need to be available is not nothing. It is a living current in the astral field, a thread tying your vitality to the emotions of others. Each request, each urgency pulls on that thread until your inner life is frayed. You feel tired, but call it busy. You feel emptied, but call it useful. Observe the pattern. When the seeker says yes to everything, resentment grows secretly. He gives, but silently accuses. He stays, but inwardly wishes to flee. He listens, but his own inner cry is never heard. The soul is sacrificed daily on the altar of being liked. You know this fracture. You feel it when the phone lights up and your chest tightens, yet your fingers obey and open the message. You feel it when you answer out of guilt, not out of truth. You call it responsibility. In occult terms, it is obedience to a false master, fear of rejection. The law is simple. What you always make available, the world begins to treat as cheap. This is not cruelty. It is a reflection of vibration. When your time and energy are scattered without discernment, life responds with more demands and less respect. The universe does not honor what you treat as worthless. Imagine a man whose house is built on a crossroads. He leaves his door unlocked day and night, never saying no to any passerby. Travelers eat his food, sleep in his bed, argue in his kitchen. He boasts of his hospitality, yet he cannot remember the last night he slept in peace. One day, a wise stranger asks him, "Whose house is this?" The man answers, "Everyone's." The stranger replies, "Then it belongs to no one." So it is with your availability. When you belong to everyone, you belong to nothing real. When you fear closing the door, you abandon the only guest who matters, the higher self that waits for a moment of undisturbed presence. The first movement of true occult life is brutal in its simplicity. You must become less available to noise in order to become available to truth. Until you dare to disappoint others, you will continue to betray your own soul.
If this understanding awakens something inside you,
Subscribe to this channel, not for entertainment, but for those who are ready to see clearly, to confront illusion, and to reclaim their inner authority on the path of spiritual awakening.
When the seeker finally withdraws his constant availability, the world protests. The moment you say no after a lifetime of yes, you are not applauded, you are accused. Those who lived from your endless presence feel deprived, even betrayed. In their reaction, you see the magnitude of the invisible contract you signed without reading. The inner conflict intensifies. On one side, the old self trembles. If I am not always there, they will stop loving me. On the other, a quiet intuition whispers, if I am always there for them, I will never be there for truth. Between these two voices, the soul stands like a judge, waiting for you to choose whom you will serve. The occult error is simple. The seeker confuses love with constant access. He thinks that to love is to answer instantly, to be perpetually reachable, to keep his energy door open. In reality, he is feeding the lower nature of others and his own vanity. He wants to be needed more than he wants to be real. Imagine the two selves. The lower self feeds on attention and urgency. It fears silence because silence exposes its emptiness. The higher self speaks from quiet strength. It knows that genuine service is not frantic and that truth rarely shouts. When you stop being endlessly available, it is the lower self and others that screams first. There is a symbolic scene in the astral light. A woman carries a bell around her neck. Whenever another person feels lonely, they tug an invisible string and the bell rings. Day and night, she runs to answer every ring. One evening, exhausted, she removes the bell and places it on her altar. Instantly, cries fill the air. You have changed. You don't care anymore. You are cold now. She weeps, not from guilt, but from the discovery that much of what they called love was dependence. This is the human pain. You do not fear being alone as much as you fear being seen as selfish. So you overextend, overgive, over-explain. You open your door to every emotional storm, then wonder why your inner house is full of mud. In plain language, your nervous system has become the road of other people's unresolved lives. You answer before you think. You apologize before you discern. You say maybe when truth says no. You call this sensitivity. Spirit calls it self-abandonment. The true teaching does not tell you to vanish from others, but to return to yourself. Boundaries are not walls against love. They are lines that protect what is sacred in you. When you limit your availability, you are not becoming cruel. You are ceasing to participate in a lie that your worth depends on your usefulness to others' chaos. In occult terms, every no spoken from clarity seals a leak in your aura. The astral currents that once drained you begin to recede. You sleep deeper. Your thoughts become more your own. You feel strange at first because you are meeting yourself without the noise that once defined you. Life rearranges itself around this new vibration. Some people grow calmer in your presence, learning to stand on their own feet. Others grow angry and drift away, seeking another endless source. Do not chase them. Their departure is not your failure. It is the consequence of a truth you finally honored. Understand this clearly. When you stop being constantly available, you are not withdrawing love. You are withdrawing participation in your own diminishment. What leaves your life under this light was never aligned with your soul, from your true path within.
If this understanding awakens something inside you, subscribe to this channel, not for entertainment, but for those who are ready to see clearly, to confront illusion, and to reclaim their inner authority on the path of spiritual awakening. When you are no longer constantly available, the first thing that changes is not the world, but your perception of it. What once seemed urgent begins to look theatrical. You notice how many crises were manufactured, how many emergencies were demands for attention. The drama has not grown louder, you have grown quieter inside.
The soul, long exiled to the margins of your life, begins to step forward. In that space of reclaimed time, something unfamiliar appears. Your own questions. What do I truly value? Whom am I called to serve? Which relationships nourish me and which devour me? These questions cut through habits like a blade. Occult wisdom teaches that energy follows attention. When your attention is scattered across messages, calls, and obligations, your life cannot gather itself into a coherent direction. You live as fragments. As you withdraw from compulsive availability, your energy begins to flow in a single, stronger current. You feel it as a dignity returning. This dignity is not pride, it is alignment. The seeker who once rushed to every beckoning hand now moves more slowly, but with more reality. He speaks less, but his words carry weight. He chooses fewer commitments and honors them. His yes regains sacredness because his no is honest. There is a symbolic image in the astral field. A man once scattered seeds on every patch of ground he saw, afraid that if he did not plant everywhere, nothing would grow. His hands were always moving, his bag always open. Harvest season came, and most fields yielded little. One year, instructed by an inner voice, he chose a single small field and gave it his full attention. That year, he had enough grain to eat and to share. This is what changes when you are no longer always available. Your life stops being 1,000 half-grown fields and becomes one tended garden. You no longer measure your worth by how many people can reach you, but by how true you remain to the work your soul placed in your hands. Humanly, there is grief in this transition. You will lose roles that once defined you. You will see how often you accepted disrespect in exchange for the illusion of being important. You may sit alone and feel the ache of empty space where noise used to be. Do not misinterpret this silence as failure. It is the air in which the higher self can breathe. To be spiritually awake is not to be constantly accessible. It is to be constantly aligned. The world will still knock again. Some doors you will open with warmth. Others you will leave closed, not from cruelty, but from obedience to a higher order within. This is moral discipline, not coldness. You begin to see that those who truly love you do not require your constant presence to feel secure. They respect your boundaries as an expression of sincerity. The ones who punish your limits were never in relationship with your soul, only with your availability. Let them go. Their departure clears the path before you. Everything changes because now the center of your loyalty changes. No longer pledged to others, you give your first availability to truth, to conscience, to the quiet task assigned to your spirit. From this alignment, whatever you offer to the world becomes real and free of the secret poison of resentment. In the end, the question is simple and inescapable. Will you remain endlessly available to what diminishes you, or will you finally become available to the life your soul has been trying to live through you?